Every day I get phone calls and emails asking me about my training system. People ask me, well, Stonnie, what do you do and why do you do it that way? And what do you think about the way this other fella does it? And is the way he doing it, is it okay? And well, let's just start with this simple thing. I think the way I do it is the best way because if I didn't think that was the best way, I would obviously do it a different way, okay? So I gotta kind of uncover that bias right off the bat. I like doing things the way I like doing things, but that doesn't mean that they have to be done that way. I know lots of good trainers, and they don't do exactly what I do, but they do a good job. All right. So this little video is going to be about what I think makes a good dog trainer, a good dog training program, how to pick a good dog trainer, or how to gather resources for a do-it-yourself dog training project. What's important or not important. So let's start off with what I think is important. So here at Cabin Creek Kennel, our approach to family dog training, it's a model based on understanding the natural course of human and canine relationships. Our system works on two fundamental assumptions. First, dogs and humans learn best through direct interaction with their environment. Second, we can structure that interaction in such a way as to bring out the very best combination of socialization, motivation, communication, healthfulness, and generally positive behaviors possible. To put it simply, we provide a stimulus-rich environment that offers the best possible combination of factors for ensuring that your family ends up with a well-socialized, well-mannered, and healthy canine companion. Okay, so that's what we do, guys. But let me talk a little bit about what other good dog trainers do and kind of, how to tell good dog trainers from what I consider not so good dog trainers, okay? Or how to be a good dog trainer versus being not so good a dog trainer, okay? So there are some differences in approaches to dog training, okay? They vary a bit, but the reality is that all dog training systems are designed around the same three basic elements: ability, understanding, and desire. Once you understand that all dog training systems are attempting to address the same issues, the commonality of those seemingly different approaches starts to become obvious. Let's take a closer look at what it takes to become a competent trainer from my perspective, okay? First thing, guys, a good trainer sets goals that are achievable, okay? Not just achievable for the puppy, but achievable for the family, okay? And I'm talking about if you're a professional helping a family or if you're a mom or dad helping a family. It's the same responsibility. Every stage of training requires a certain amount of mental and physical maturity. Setting goals that are not stage appropriate, that's a surefire way to sabotage even the best training program. If you paid me $1 million to teach you the secrets of my training program, but you didn't do it on the same schedule that I do it, guys, it wouldn't work, okay? It's not enough to learn the proper mechanics of a technique or an approach. You also have to learn proper timing. In other words, knowing when to use a technique, that's just as important as knowing how to use a technique. I always try to use real life examples, guys. So I always tell people, if you want to raise a brain surgeon, you don't start teaching them brain surgery in kindergarten. No, you teach them how to sit in their chair and look at the teacher and keep their hands to themselves. That's what's important. The fundamentals, the basics. Keep it super simple. Now, the second thing I look for in a good trainer is, a good trainer needs to be a good communicator. Now, it's important to note that being a good communicator doesn't just mean being good at telling stuff. You also have to be good at listening. Communication's a two-way street. The handler must not only be able to clearly and concisely convey information, but you also must be able to clearly and concisely receive information. Too often, I can tell you from a lot of experience, guys, dog trainers love to talk, and they'll talk and talk and talk, but they don't always do the listening part very well. All right, so if you want to be a good dog trainer, put on your listening ears, Now, that brings up kind of a point about when dog trainers are talking, they have a tendency to assume this kind of commanding posture or what they think of as commanding posture, guys. But look, you don't have to do that, right? Every day I try to stress to my clients that, important people, they don't speak loudly and they don't repeat themselves very often and they don't bark commands, If you want to be important to your puppy, just act like you would act if you were an important person, Keep your volume level low and the repetition to a minimum, and don't get so militant in your language. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like dog trainers that are militant in their language, whether they're talking to the dogs or to the people. I don't find it to be useful, Now, the last thing that I'm really looking at here for a good dog trainer, you have to be a master motivator, Okay, now that's super important. All things considered, it's actually pretty easy to make a puppy understand what's expected, whether you're just using a leash and collar or food work or ball work or whatever. But getting the puppy to reliably and consistently do what's expected, that's a completely different matter. The ability to develop a puppy's focus and impulse control and work ethic, that's what separates effective trainers from non-effective trainers. Think about this for a second, guys, just to bring this point home. Have you ever seen a puppy that won't sit for a dog treat, But then think about how many of those puppies turn out to be dogs that they'll, be able to be well-mannered in public, and they'll sit and stay in a distracting environment, Teaching skills is only a small part of a good trainer's job. Teaching the puppy how to apply those skills in real-life situations, that's where the real work happens, guys, If your trainer can do it, that's one thing, but your trainer has to be able to get you guys to be able to do it. I just can't stress that enough. And if you're the mom and dad and it's a do-it-yourself project, you have to be able to, put the work in to make things reliable, not just with your puppy, but with your children. That the children and the puppy's relationship, that's important, and it's got to be treated kind of as its own organic thing, So, let's take a moment to review here, right? When you're picking a dog trainer or you're designing and implementing your own dog training program, you only have to answer 3 questions, but it's important that you answer them perfectly, okay? The first one, you got to be a good judge of whether your puppy is mentally and physically ready to do what you expect them to do, and not just your puppy, but the other members of your family. If everybody's not on board, if everybody's not capable, you're going to fail. You got to remember, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Now, the second thing, does the puppy understand what's expected? Okay, does the grown dog understand what's expected? You got to do a good job. You got to tell them the right things, and you got to listen to make sure they understand what's expected. And then the third thing, guys, is, have you put in the work to develop a proper motivational base, okay? Does the puppy seem to be happy about working? Does it get up every day and look at you and say, hey, what are we going to do today? Are we going to do some coming and some being still and some having good manners? Because I know if I'll come and be still and have good manners that my life is going to be great, okay? If your puppy's not getting up in the morning and wanting to be obedient, then guys, somewhere along the line you have messed up on building your motivational base, right? And that's really important. So when you're hiring a trainer, or when you're being the trainer for your family on one of these do-it-yourself projects, guys, if that motivation isn't there, if it's not obvious that your kids and your puppy and everybody in your family wants to do it, somebody is falling behind, okay? So you can be the smartest dog trainer in the world, and you can be the best communicator in the world, but if you're not hitting everything on that motivational base, then it's all going to fall apart. So all 3 of those questions have to be addressed, okay? So if you go to hire a dog trainer, hire one that can, answer those 3 questions and help you address those 3 issues. And if you're going to do it yourself, then you make sure that you're addressing all those issues, and don't put the blame on the puppy, don't put the blame on the other members of your family. Okay, take responsibility and do a good job. Good luck.